Now that I got all those clams cleaned, which is a chore in itself, I've been doing this for many, many, many years. Since I was a kid, my job in the household was cleaning the clams. So making baked stuffed clams, like I showed you, is my favorite thing to do when I'm still in my clam attire. Sorry, but my second favorite thing to do with clams is my Long Island clam chowder. I'm Chef Todd Moore. My mission is empowering people to cook without recipes. They experience the freedom to cook what they want, how they want it, the confidence to take control and try new things, the health benefits of fresh, wholesome foods, and the family-strengthening bonds of dinner time together, as well as the money they save by eating well. Live without rules, cook without recipes. It's a no-recipe lifestyle. I'm going to show you how to make it today. It's a tomato-based, not a white-based, with all due respect to my friends in the Northeast, with your white chowdas. My New York style Long Island clam chowder starts with tomatoes. So I got myself some Roma tomatoes, and since we like to use as many fresh ingredients as we can, we're going to start with tomato concasse. And I've shown you this many times before, where I take my paring knife and core the tomato simply by setting my thumb as a depth gauge on the knife, taking the core out, and X on the other side. And behind me, I've got a pot of water that's beginning to simmer. So we'll go ahead and put the tomato in the simmering water, wait for that skin to pull back. That's going to be ingredient number one. Keeping things simple, ingredient number two is an onion. I'm going to cut the onion from root end to blossom end. I think you've seen me do this before. Take that blossom end off, peel the onion. It's done. Oh, this one's easy. Like that. To dice the onion, horizontal cuts first. 1, 2, 3. Vertical cuts. Tip fulcrum method. Diced onion. My tomato in that pot for concasse, my onion chopped. The next thing we have to do is work on our clams. And remember, when I cleaned all those clams, I separated them by size, and the largest, toughest clams were going to be the ones that go in the soup, because the soup cooks longest in a moist process. Easier to do. But here's a trick that I've developed for my own clam chowder. No matter how long you cook some of these clams, they're still rubbery and chewy. So I want my chowder to look like it has clams in it, but I want it to taste more like it has clams in it. So what I do is puree some of them or run them through a meat grinder. The first thing I'm going to do is portion some of these clams out so that I have them so that they actually look like there's clams in the soup. So let's take a few of these out of here, and we'll chop them coarsely for eye appeal. Maybe a third or so of all my clams get set aside. The rest of them, I don't have a meat grinder, and that's actually preferable if you have an attachment to your KitchenAid. I have, though, my Cuisinart, my food processor. So with the clams in the food processor lid on, I'll just give it a few pulses, because really what I want to do is tenderize a lot of these clams. I don't want to turn it into total mush, but I don't want big chewy parts of clam in there. I would rather have a good clam flavor, and that's what happens. I cut up a lot of those big chewy clams. And now it's just really a matter of assembly and a saute method. You know, we did a lot of classes on soups, never the most popular class in our cooking school, but making soups has so much to do with other cooking skills. It really, mastering soups is an important thing. This is a very simple one because we're going to start with a saute method. My large pot back here that we're going to start with some butter. The original recipe called for salt, pork, fat back, bacon, things like that. I try and keep the land animals away from the sea animals, so I'd rather have the dairy than the animal fat. Simple saute of the onions, then the clams, then the tomatoes, and remember how I showed you to strain that broth? That's going to come in real important in a few minutes. All right, well, you see the basic mixture here. It's butter, onions, clam and all that tomato concasse. Seems pretty simple, but two things I wanted to tell you about. One I'm excited about, and one I have to repent a little bit. Let me show you what I do with the vegetables. You know, I try and use as much fresh ingredients as I possibly can, but in this soup I want corn, I want beans, I want green beans, I want carrots, I want peas, I want a whole mixture of vegetables that, you know, sometimes you take a shortcut, and for soup, for a long cooking process like soup, I usually go ahead and buy a bag of mixed vegetables, and this has corn and beans and peas and carrots and celery and all the things that in this instance making soup, this is my one shortcut. So a bag of frozen mixed vegetables go in there. And lastly, what I'm excited about, remember how I showed you how to strain the liquid from the clams, that it would come in handy? Well, it since has come in handy quite a few times, as a matter of fact, where I've made fish sauces or sauces for meals. I've pulled out some of the bags of clam juice that I had in my freezer. And now to add the real flavor of clam in my Long Island clam chowder, it's not water. Here's where people make the mistake. Now they've got this goop of tomatoes and vegetables and clams and so on, and it's too thick. They want to thin it out. They put water in it. Water is the most flavorless thing on the planet, on the earth. Clam broth that came from the clams we're cooking, that's the key. So the last secret ingredient is the clam broth. Oh, already, like the ocean, like a clean ocean smell, that clam chowder. Shouldn't smell clammy or fishy. So everything's in there. This is now a process of low and slow. A long period of time at a low temperature to cook and combine all those flavors and soften up those tomatoes and let them put their juice out and so on. But the very last thing is seasoning. Now, I normally like to season at the very, very end, but since this is going to cook so long, I can use some good dried seasoning. And I have my own combination of Long Island chowder seasoning that I keep pre-mixed. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this. What you you want to know what's in it? Never. I'll never tell you what's in it. All right, maybe if you watch very closely. Watch closely. Can you see what's going on? All right. And just a little bit more seasoning, and that will simmer for as long as I can let it go. Low and slow for a long time, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. My Long Island clam chowder. It's something that you can make at home, but wherever you live, make it Cleveland clam chowder, make it Ontario clam chowder, call it South Wales clam chowder if you want, but you know it's always basic method that goes to it. But enjoy your local ingredients. I had the ability to go clamming. I've been hitching up my boat since I was a little kid, pulling it into the dock and running back and forth and tying up the rope. This is something that goes throughout my life and my childhood. It's something that connects so well with food and childhood memories with me, and I hope the summertime does the same for you. So happy clamming, happy fishing, happy hunting. Use your freshest, your best ingredients this summer season.